Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. And tonight we'll be doing coffee and chat. We're going to be chatting about distractions. I think it's kind of fitting in this day of age that we're living in. I've touched on it before, brushed on it. But I kind of really want to get into it tonight just because it's become an everyday thing. We got so much information that we are bombarded with, flooded with. So many different distractions. Every day. To list them all would be impossible because every day we have something new that's trending, that's drawing your attention to. Today it's, last couple of days, part of the distraction's been Facebook. And the committee, special council committees, we're getting a bit tired of those anyway. It's just yet another distraction. Nothing gets done from them. I followed the Facebook thing a little bit because it is interesting. I'm going to do a follow-up video on that. Why now? Why all of a sudden now they want to come down on the internet? That stuff's been happening since the conception of Facebook and all these other platforms. Why now? Well, I think we got our answer today, which was kind of why I was kind of tuning in. It's a distraction because it's distracting from other things that's going on. But this is also where I've been generally following the lead. If anything, when it's coming to do with censorship, taking our rights and freedoms away, controlling the narratives, because it's very important. And that's what it's boiling down to, this whole Facebook thing. They want to use that platform to control. As one Senator Nelson stated, well, either you're going to fix it or we're going to fix it, as in Congress. And we're going to regulate it and make laws and legislation. That's what I've been waiting to hear. Now the truth comes out. But, now after that, it's just the hoorah of asking the same questions over and over, being avoided. So, what's the point? No new questions are really being asked. It's just the same question with the same spin on things. So, and then we see that in every committee. We have various forms of things that trend. Today was Facebook pretty much a predominant trending. But we also had other things happen today that gets overlooked. We've had some great content put out from YouTubers today that's gotten overlooked because most people's feeds are filled with what's trending. So we're missing important things. Like I almost missed something important myself, something I didn't know was happening in my own state. Why? Because my focus has been on censorship, our freedoms being eradicated when there's a bill, very dangerous bill being passed in my own backyard that nobody's heard about until today. Apparently somebody else heard about it because I wouldn't respond to it. It just reminded me, look at all the distractions that we've got. If it ain't on the internet, it's the controlled narrative of mainstream news, where they only adhere to their political label and they don't let you go. There is no neutrality. They stick to one side or the other. Just like found an interesting thing that's happening in the UK, which we do need to watch out for. Because how long before we're going to have to start dealing with it here in the United States? That's why we can never give an inch on any of our freedoms. We got to stop letting things distract us as well from the broad narrative. Labels are the biggest distraction because those labels have been dividing us. We get caught up in the label. Make America Great Again is a label that draws in multiple groups of people from different labels. So now you have multiple sub-labels under that one label. But yet, you'll see the bickering and fighting amongst the sub-labels. They can't get along with stuff, with each other. Some people hold on to the president can't do anything wrong. Well, the president has said some things wrong this year. I mean, he's corrected some of his speech, but we are all supposed to be his checks and balances too. We're supposed to call out when he does something that goes against our Constitution, that may impede on our freedoms and our liberties. But we live in a day and age where if you speak out about it, you might support him, you're going to get ridiculed and stabbed by the very Make America Great group, because you're talking about, no, I'm doing my job. You should be doing yours. When he says something that is unconstitutional, you're supposed to let him know. Voice your opinion, not adhere to an ideological label. It's a distraction. Because look at it. Oh, we got the Mueller investigation. We all know it's a joke. But it's a distraction. It's distracting our senators from doing their jobs, which they're not mad about at one bit. They'd rather be doing that. Because they don't want to pass anything that betters us. So we'll just keep feeding people this distraction. It's becoming a vicious cycle of distractions. Every week there seems to be something new. 2 weeks ago it was the Stormy Daniels thing. It went away. Oh, we can't let that die down. So let's go raid Trump's attorney. It's a distraction that they're using to also pit people against each other. I mean, one of my most favorite distractions out there right now that I've told people about from the get-rip, QAnon. I live my life. Simple. Trust my feelings. Trust what I feel and what I'm led to or led away from. QAnon instantly threw up red flags. Well, such and such is going to happen this week, and they give a list of abbreviated letters, AG, HC. They can mean anything. But in our psychological mind, this is the dangers of labels, because labels is also a form of sigils. You'll instantly think CAG, oh, they're talking about the Attorney General Sessions, or HC, Hillary Clinton. When in all actuality, it may completely be different. More than likely, something in the week is going to happen, and you're going to relate those two letters to that as an event. It's the dirtiest trick in the book. And it's actually psychological warfare. But yet, look how many thousands of people adhere to it. It's like a Bible now to them. It becomes a distraction. They're looking for things now and being distracted from things that might be happening in their own backyard, or things that are really important, that Congress bills that they're proposing and stuff. Instead of searching Congress.gov and searching the bills and the legislations that they're passing, even on the state level, you can research that on your state level as well. They're chasing down a possibility that might not happen. And it's easy to give it credibility when you're just using forms of letters that could mean anything. But we all know how this narrative has been. We've got the Mueller investigation. We got this witch hunting. We've got all this division on all sides. Everybody got caught up in the slogan, lock her up. So when you see HC, you're instantly putting a face to it. When it might not mean that, but the person that did that knows that. They know that's the instantly that's what you're going to put. It becomes a distraction. It becomes misinformation, misleading you. So you're not paying attention to what's really going on. Then you are sharing it with other people and making the distraction grow even more. Sometimes we forget people do follow us. People catch the things we're sharing, and like to think that we are, people that know each of us, if we post something or share something, it's usually credible, trustworthy, because they know us, they've seen us. We have the responsibility on that note to be more careful with the things we post. We have the responsibility to realize when something is a distraction that's meant to be distracting people away from real things. But we live in a digital age, which 10 times harder to avoid such things. We're on platforms where it's important to have things trend. It's all about the numbers. Numbers are distractions. Because we get caught up on, I've got this many likes. Oh, why do you get all these dislikes? Or why am I getting all these views? It becomes a distraction. It becomes discouraging. It makes you not want to do content when it's your content that matters. It's just another form of distracting. They distract you by saying you're not getting the views. How many times have I sat here and showed you guys that my small little channel of 35 subscribers on various other platforms gets more views than what my numbers correlate? But most people don't go to other platforms. It's hard to juggle all those platforms. Like right now that I'm actually making sure everything's shared before I go live to all the platforms, there's 20 minutes to a half hour of my time to make sure I got my content set up on Gab, Patreon, WordPress, Facebook, Twitter, a couple main platforms that I'm on, websites that I'm on. But in a sense, those sites might save me one day because I'll be able to use the links that I have videos uploaded to. Because on those sites you can upload videos. It just takes forever. But I guess that also becomes a distraction. Because, I want to go live and not have to spend all that extra time putting all that stuff here. There's many forms of distractions. And they use it as a weapon. They know it. They know if we want to get our message out, we want people to hear what we're saying, we got to jump to multiple platforms that we can't link to or share to. We have to decide what is important and it's not a distraction. We have to decide what content is coming in that we're allowing in that's not going to be a distraction from what might really be going on. And it's hard because we also live in a day and age where they've got so sophisticated with their sleight of hands and the multiple strings attached to things that, what may not seem like a distraction actually is. Because there's a lot going on in the world. Just not here in the U.S. All over. You know, we have to pick and choose what we're going to talk about and cover. Even though there's other important issues, because when we start spreading ourselves out, we start falling into another distraction where we might miss something that's very important that people need to know about here in the U.S. And it's easy to pretty much tell what's trending. Just watch your feed. How many people are resharing, reposting the same thing? You know, I kind of thought at first, the QAnon thing would disappear after a while. People would get smart to it. But no, it hasn't. Just like this Facebook thing, oh no, it's not going away anytime soon. It might go away after the election cycles, because then they're not going to care. In a sense, what it all comes about is about controlling the narrative, controlling the information that flows. So you only see one side of the story. You got to remember, I don't know how, maybe our parents aren't teaching their kids this. There's always two sides of the story. There's just not one side. There's always two sides of the story. Just like in history, there's two forms of history. There's the written history, which is nine times out of 10 one-sided because it was written by the conqueror, not the conquered. Then you have the story of the conquered. Their story of what happened and transpired. You know, usually that don't get shared, that don't get published. That's passed down from generation to generation. It's not a written document or a digital document. But now we live in an age where it can be a digital document. People can talk about it. Well, this is what happened. This is what eyewitness saw. Well, that's a little bit dangerous to a controlled narrative, because now it's allowing what they don't want told to be told and to be shared with others, which in a sense might conflict with what they've chose to be the narrative that they deem is the actual history. So they find ways to make it not factual by saying it's fake news, it's disinformation, it's unsafe. See, we're back into the labels game, because they use the labels as distractions. Oh, that was a leftist ideology. But yet, that leftist, now let me pose a question to you. Come election time, say there's only two candidates in your state that's running for Congress. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Well, the Republican is a rhino who has never honored his campaign promises in the past, who has went after your freedoms in the past. But you have this new Democrat we know a little bit about. We might not agree with all of his views, but one of his standpoints is he's going to uphold and protect the Constitution. That he's not going to let them stand by idly and let you take your freedoms away. How many people on the right will vote for the left on that narrative? How many? Or are you going to adhere to the label and vote a person in that's going to strip you of your rights? Again, because you're taught and told that the left is always wrong. See the dangers of labels. Because that label does not define that person. How was that person brought up? What has he experienced? What has he seen? That's why I don't adhere to no political ideology when it comes from a label, Republican and Democrat. because that's not what it's about. What it's about is that person going to represent you, your neighbors, your community, your state, as a people. Because that is what his job is, or her job is. It is to represent the people. He is your voice. Doesn't matter what label he adheres to. What matters is the oath that he takes and swears to, and that he does his job, to protect your rights and freedoms. See how we've been brainwashed to adhere to one certain set of ideology? Or we'll get into, well, he's a conservative, he's a liberal. They'll never come to agreement on guns. Well, one, he shouldn't be running for politics if he's going to not honor the Constitution, honor the oath that he's about ready to take, he or she is about ready to take. So therefore, he is not neither. He's somebody that wants to strip you of your rights and freedoms. But you can't see, but you either get distracted with the label, well, it's the label, I'm not voting no other way. So you'll vote a person in that has, in the past, opposed your rights and freedoms and liberties. That's the point I've always been trying to make when I talk about labels. Labels are dangerous because they do not unite, they divide. When it comes to politics, it's simple. Are you going to be the voice of we the people, for the people? Welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you back in the chat room. You know, that's how we end up becoming like what's happening to other countries. And, you know, me personally, this is my opinions and views, by the way, but personally, I think that's what they want. They want us to be so divided so they can slip these laws and bills into place right under our noses while we're so caught up in what's trending or what's happening in this community. The whole time while we're distracted, they're slipping measures in to strip you of your rights and freedoms. And these very same people in Congress and in our states, legislative branches should not be in office because they're violating the very oaths they're supposed to honor and protect. I don't give a rat's ass what they call themselves. You know what I call them? Treason. Treasoners. They are committing treason. They're not a Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. They're a bigot. There's somebody who wants to strip you of your rights. Quit listening to labels. Quit identifying to a label, a party, or what do you want to call it? A party is nothing more than a label in this sense. It's a distraction meant to divide you, meant to control a certain narrative. Because you start missing out on what's really happening. They draw your attention over here while Congress is still doing their thing in the background, but it's not getting no attention, introducing new laws and bills that's going to further strip your rights and freedoms away. And those are the things that we got to be always watching out for, calling out. Know when it's time to turn something off. When that senator said what he said, it was time to turn it off. Okay, now I get the agenda. Now I understand what you're really after here. You're after full control of the internet. You want to control all the narratives. You want to be like what they're doing in China and other countries. You see, that's how they get you caught up. Because most people are going to sit there and watch that whole debacle for the next how many days it goes on. nonstop, not too, and they're going to miss other important things that's happening in your own backyards, that's happening in our government. Most people aren't going to learn. It was just like that's been pointed out. We talk about the gun debate. We talk about the censorship debate. And we subcategorize them because we treat them as the Second Amendment issue, it's the First Amendment issue, and various other issues, due process, immigration. No, let's stop right there. There's only one issue at stake here. It's our constitutional rights, our freedoms and liberties. It's your freedom to bear arms. We could tackle a majority of these things that they keep dividing us with in one category. Because in a sense, they all are correlate. Oh boy, a big word that I can't pronounce. Imagine that. Yeah. It's going to be one of those nights I see it. It's not even a big word. But it's all the strings and stuff that are attached. You know, it sounds like it's two different things, but in a sense, it's only one thing. They all have one common goal: to strip you of your freedom, to control the narrative, control the information that's being spread. And on that note, how many of us could actually agree? On that note, we should all be putting any difference we have aside to fight for that common ideology, freedom. I know. Or we sit back and let them keep pitting us against each other, or arguing, splitting our groups to fight the gun debate, fight the censorship debate, another group fighting the censorship debate, when in the end they're all the one same problem: freedom. They're trying to take your freedoms. We don't need to divide ourselves. But we get divided because of our labels we choose to put on ourselves. We get divided because, I'm a conservative, I'm a libertarian, I'm a liberal, I'm a socialist. Honestly, I don't care what you are politically. That don't mean nothing to me. What is your beliefs on the Constitution? We'll start there. Do you believe you should have every freedom that's in the freedom and right that's listed in the Constitution? You say yes, I agree. We don't need to go any farther. We don't need to make it complicated. It's simple, quite very simple, because that's what's at stake, is our very freedoms and liberties. So they come around, they'll put us, here's QA now. Here, go play, let's get this group of younger people and some of the older people. Go play with this. They'll go down that rabbit hole. It's got a little shiny to it. We'll even make sure a few things happen where they could, looks like, those abbreviation letters might just correlate to that. And everybody goes off, missing the bigger picture. Now, I think QA, some of the stuff that's been brought up in the QAnon is interesting talking points, but nothing more, because it is the what ifs. Well, that could possibly happen. So what if that happened? How do we deal with that? Okay, that's cool. It opens up discussion, debates, and topics. But it's not something I'm going to spend hours and hours on when I know what I feel. When I know what it is, it's wrong. It's a distraction. It's sending me down different areas while important things are happening right in front of me that I'm missing. Then what happens once it gets a huge fund? Anybody that talks about it or talks bad about it or disagrees with it, it causes a division within the groups once more. Because let's remember, Not everybody that follows that topic is the alternative community. They're not all of them are right-wingers. You know, you have conservative liberals and all the different labels. That's the problem. Now I get sick and tired of seeing on Facebook, Twitter, oh, they're going after just the conservatives. No, they're going after everybody. You're actually promoting disinformation when you say that. You're actually distracting people when you say that, because there is people outside your little label that it has happened to. It's just not your group. And they're fine with that. They want you to do that because it helps further divide. It helps keep people distracted from what's really taking place. What is really taking place? Trying to control the narrative, control what is being said on the internet. So it's only one-sided. They don't want another opinion or view. They want their narrative and only their narrative. That's what this is about. That's why they use these distractions. And I'm sure by now I've probably pissed a few people off. Well, maybe some people need a reality check. Maybe some people really need to start questioning things. Because in the end, we can't do nothing when we're this scattered about, divided. One group over here fighting for this, or another group over here fighting for this. We're not whole when we're doing that. We're divided. And guess what? Divided, you will fall. Maybe some of you should go back and read The Art of War. Many of the things I talk about, you'll find in there. These ain't old, new tactics. These are old just because we live in a digital age. In fact, because we live in a digital age, it made it much more easier to divide people and distract people. Because in many cases, this has become an addiction for so many. But yet we don't want to talk about real addictions. They want to control. They don't want you talking about opioids. Oops, I said it. I guess I'll be banned for another 30 days on Facebook. That's it. That's the other thing they get you with. Oh, you got to be careful what you say or you get banned. I'm tired of that crap. You know, just like I'm also tired of some people saying, well, you need to, you're just not talking about it the right way. You need to be up and, no, the answer is not being up in your people's faces all the time. It gets you nowhere. In fact, it helps divide when you do that, because you're starting to lose the people that follow you because they're tired of hearing it from others. It's not the way. There is a time and a place for that. And I'm going to do a whole topic on a time and a place because I think it's important that we cover time and place to understand. You know, that's the other thing. Some people don't get it because I don't know how many times in my own chat people tell me that's why they don't like listening to certain person anymore or this person anymore, because it's always in your face, anger. You got to know when that it is appropriate to do that. You know, but we live in an age where some people made that to where it became much like clickbait. Some people seen it, got used to it, and wanted it, and that was the only way to grow your audience was through doing videos like that. So it made it okay until it comes to a point where, no, we don't want to see all that in your face. We want to hear calm tone. We want to be able to process what's being said. You know, we don't want to see others attacking others. Because we do. We all get tired of the drama at some point. I mean, it starts out, it might be a little fun here and there to watch. A little drama can be fun from time to time, right? Yeah. But then it gets old, boring. It gets, okay, this is just gone too far. You know, that's why I've never tried to name names, because it happens all the time. You know, just like now, we know. Now, you guys do have to be careful when you say stuff like that, because now the chats are available. I am not going to block my chat. I want people to see my chats. Because a lot of time there's dialogue that I am interacting with my chat room, because I want to interact with my chat room. That's what I enjoy, the interaction. That's what it's about. Because I'm learning just as much as from you and your experiences and your opinions and views as that you're learning from me. And we grow that way. That's how we learn. That's how we make changes in our life. But we can't do that when we're being distracted, when we're falling for these same tactics. We're actually stunting our growth. We're not evolving. You know, we can go on any platform right now and just see how distracting, how distractions work. What we can almost point out exactly what is trending or what's going to trend just by watching our feeds, watching our friends' feeds. We'll see the same stuff that's being posted on our feeds on theirs. Then it gets going. The more people that follow you, or the more people that you follow, the more you see. Then in a sense that becomes where numbers become a disadvantage, because now you're going to miss something important. Something that might be real news that's happening in your own backyard because you're following 1,000, 2,000 people. It might be midway in the tweets and you're only going to scroll halfway. You're not going to spend 10 minutes to get to the very bottom of your tweets just to go back up and have 30 more new ones. That's why I prefer quality over quantity. But at the same time, when you get on platforms like this, do the things I'm doing and that other people do, we're caught between a catch-22. You got a message you want to be heard, so you need followers. You need numbers to share your opinions, so your opinions get out there, so your view gets out there, so your message gets out there. Without the numbers, it doesn't go anywhere. No one hears it. So we end up in that catch-22. Well, for me, it was an easy decision. From my, I think I got disconnected. Yep. I'm going to share screen with you guys real quick. I want to show you something. I just want this documented. This is the other thing I'm really pissing me off. Okay, we know I don't have super chat, right, guys? Because I don't have 1,000 subscribers. But yet we see the little dollar sign. Well, what that means is I got signed out of YouTube, which means if I don't sign back in, I'm going to get kicked out of this Hangout. But as you can see, when I hover over it, it says sign into chat. Seems to only happen on certain conversations and certain topics. Yet again, another distraction to get me off topic. Trolls are a distraction. Yes, I agree. They are. Don't feed them. Ignore them. Just play silence with them. Same way as the chat room. Oh, it's got to fix the stupid chat now. I don't know why they can't fix that. To have, I'm the creator. I'm the one live streaming. My chat should be live chat always, not top chat. Yet again, another distraction. See how easy it is to distract people from a message and topic? Trolls will come in just intentionally to do it. They'll say something that they know will set the viewer off. And they'll keep doing it till the viewer reacts or the chat room starts reacting. They only have one goal, guys: to disrupt, to distract, to get whatever conversation was going on in the chat room to change, whatever conversation was going on in the live stream to change. And this is how they do it every time. There's so many, like I said, when we start talking about the uses of distractions to distract you, to discourage you, it's multiple. Then when you get distracted, you might not catch what you were talking about, what caused it. Or you might go flying off the handle and be forced to delete your stream afterwards, which I won't do. Yeah, I occasionally do. Actually, for about a couple weeks now, I've been showing my face a little bit more and more. Because, sometimes I think it is important when you're talking about certain things to let the people see there's a real face behind the screen. That's, was my issue with Twitter, and then trying to nail me for being a bot. Suspicious activity. I'm not a bot. I do periscopes. So there's a real person there. But what is a bot? That's just another form of distraction. Because now you're going to have to give up all your information to get back on. See, we're back to that word, information again. They want to control the information. They want to know who you're following, what you're watching, what you're clicking on, which actually kind of goes back to the whole Facebook debacle. So apparently, yes, I tuned in a little bit longer than probably should have, but it was interesting. There was nothing else going on, and I didn't have to watch it. I could listen to it, so I was able to still do what I do. I'm still catching up on things, which is a good thing because, like I said, I would have missed something that's happening in my own backyard that I'm going to have to now go research a little bit more because from what was said, I trust the source that shared it. Difference. I trust that person because that person never misled anybody. He's always made sure what he posts and what he talks about is backed up with facts. But it goes back to I'm still going to research it because it's something that I know can affect me. I hope he does a podcast about it because it is important. And yeah, those actually will name names here. Be rich. And I can't remember the actual quote on the law, but it was here in Ohio, and something to do with government officials. It goes back to the old saying. They want to say that there's double standards for politicians, government officials, law enforcement. No, there's one set of laws that applies to everyone. But they don't believe that. They believe they're better than us, and that the laws they make don't apply to them. It only applies to us. Let me correct them on that. You are a U.S. citizen, so therefore those laws do apply to you. You're not going to distract me with the wordplay there. Wordplay can be a form of distraction. Wordplay is just like labels. If you know how to use your words, which every one of you should know how to use words, you know how you can play on words. Change a word that may sound like it means something in a context when it actually has a completely different meaning. Those are psychological mind games. And they're used as tools to manipulate people, to control narratives. Just like images. Anybody remember, I think it was last year, might have been the year before that. Probably, yeah, I think it was the year before that, 2016. Anybody remember the picture of the bald eagle with the attacking drones? They were training the eagles and falcons and stuff, the birds of prey basically, to bring down drones. Well, this one image that was going viral all over the place showed this bald eagle with the drone in its talon, but in its talon it showed the leash on the eagle. Unless you're trying to pick apart an image, you're going to miss the details like that. You're going to miss what psychologically it imprints. Because your mind sees it, but you see the words and stuff that's written on it and the article, so you're missing the little things like the leash on the leg, which is meant to control and enslave the bird. It's how they control the bird. It's how they train the bird to let it know it is in captivity and it was to come back. It's how they train them. That's why they always keep the leash on them, on their talons, or right there when they let them go. They psychologically program the bird. Most of us know this, but we don't. Our mind knows it, but our mind, when we're looking at the image and we're reading the words, oh, that's cool. I mean, it's a meme. It's meant to be cool. It's meant to be, but there's a hidden message there. It's a hidden message of controlling information, controlling, enslaving the people. Because in a sense, you're enslaving that bird. You're taking that bird's spirit away. It's no longer wild. It's tamed, controlled. It knows it's going to get fed. Your mind knows these things. Your subconscious sees it, picks it up. You might not even think about it or question it. That's how dangerous these things can be. That's how dangerous QAnon is. Because in the same principle, he might not be using images, but he's using abbreviations, AC, AG, and various other terms. It's a manipulation. Because subconsciously, you're going to put a name to that when something like that happens. I mean, we could go digging deeper into many other different areas and avenues to break that down and point it out so you guys understand it. But it's a distraction. Because I want to spend all that time doing that when there's real issues right now. Very important issues. And that's why it makes stuff like that dangerous, because they're distracting you from what's really going on. Do we end up getting some vital stuff? Yes. I mean, I can remember the Pizzagate thing. There was a few people that actually caught on to something real that could be beneficial, that needed focus on. That was the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, missing persons, kidnappings here in the U.S. and across the world that never really gets talked about. They pointed these things out. But they didn't go down the rabbit hole. They've seen it for what it was. Okay, this is important. And since Trump's taken office, we've seen that happen. We've seen them rounding up. Almost every day we are hearing of cases of human traffickers, sex traffickers being rounded up, pedophilias rounded up. And there was at least one good thing to come out of the Pizzagate. But it took a different administration. It took people putting focus on something that was really important and ignoring all the BS that came with it. Just like the Facebook thing today. As I pointed out, the one senator told me, and probably should have told every one of you exactly what you needed to know. It's about the government and Congress wanting to control the internet. So it wasn't, as he was referring, they don't want just to control Facebook. They don't want to pass legislation just for Facebook, but for all the social platforms. Guess what? That affects their freedoms, rights, and liberties. That allows them to solely control the narrative, solely control the information. And that is dangerous when you allow a government or a corporation to control a narrative, because it becomes one-sided. Best example I can give you that. Go turn on CNN, MSN, NBCS, or NBCN, or whatever it is, Fox, and any other news network. Actually, you kind of bring up a good point. I mean, let's keep it real. How many conversations actually happen in a taxi cab? Just for idle conversation. How much information is passed between the everyday people to a taxi driver? What does a taxi driver hear that nobody else hears? What if a taxi driver just don't work for the taxi company, but is an agent? Well, this is what if scenario here. But think about it. Those taxi drivers, they see everything. They see all kinds of people. Tell you what, if I was in control of an agency, yeah, I'd have a group of people posing as taxi drivers. But they hear it all. And yeah, they hear everything, see everything. In a sense, we must. I like this little narrative here. In a sense, we need to be more like taxi drivers. We need to be listening to everyone, hearing what they have to say, holding conversation with everyone. Because you're dealing with a different group of people. That's a good way to look at things, too. Look at through the eyes of a taxi driver or a bus driver, because they see all walks of life. They hear all different stories from life, everyday life. They probably see more of the world and what's happening in the world than we do on social media. Because they don't see the distractions. Well, they do. They see all the people sitting in the back of their cabs, don't want to talk because they got their nose in their iPad or their laptop or their cell phone. They see it all. It goes back to my little description that I've used as the homeless guy on the street, the beggar, the bum. He sees the world for what it really is. Yeah, actually, you're very right on that one. I know up in Akron, it's written with, on some of the buses. It's even written. They will report you for anything. They see it. They are obligated and contracted to report it. They see somebody that looks like they might be selling drugs. They have to report it. Those public bus drivers are basically rent-a-cops. No, they don't need to be paid. because it's part of their job description on the contracts that they sign. But how many people get so distracted they don't catch that? They don't see that. They don't understand that Big Brother's been watching for a very long time. They don't understand that that bum might not be a bum. I mean, we've heard the stories of some rich people going out posing as beggars and bums. At the end of the day, they get up and walk to their $100,000 Porsche or whatever and drive off to their mansion. Nobody ever questions any farther now. What was they out there doing in the first place? Was it just to experience it, or just to make money? How much money they're going to make? The way society is today. But it shows you. Most people don't even notice the homeless guy, the beggar, because they're too caught up with their cell phone, oblivious to what's going on around them. See, distractions just don't happen on the social media platforms. It can be conversations. You get this mentality, you want to tune certain things out. You don't want to see it. It doesn't exist. And eventually it doesn't. You don't see it. You might catch it out of your peripheral, but it doesn't register. Oh yeah, I've actually taken buses before. Let's just say it's not one of my favorite modes of transportation, but actually there's a policy here in the U.S. that in the bus terminal, they have the right at any time to search your belongings. If you're sitting there waiting, like when I go from here to North Carolina, end up getting laid over in Columbus for about 4 hours. Well, at that 4-hour period of time, I watched them search over 100 people's bags and check their boarding passes, make sure they had a boarding pass. And sometimes, it was like because I can't remember how the policy wrote. If you're in there for longer than an hour, I think, they have the right to search you and ask you for your boarding pass and search your property. And I've watched them, because like I said, it's usually a 4-hour transfer wait. And I watched them hit the same people. You know they got a boarding pass. You just searched them not even an hour ago. And just repeat the process. But then in the back area, you got people on their iPhones, iPads, oblivious to what's going on. See, most people don't get out and experience things. They take things at face value and for granted. Oh, that don't happen. Instead, if you had just read the sign or read your boarding pass, you know it does. So it states it right there on the sign. But I guess it's not in a digital format, so they don't pay attention. We live in a world that's full of distractions. And some of those very laws that we're talking about at like the bus terminal stuff, railroads, terminals, they got it put in place after 9/11. And let's keep it real. How many of us 100 million. It's 100. I only smoke 100s. But how many people, when all that stuff came out, well, a lot of that stuff was done behind closed doors we never even knew about. We were too caught up in the aftermath while they passed a lot of this legislation and laws when it came to the Patriot Act, 9/11 bill. Then the other distraction is they give you 2,000, 3,000 pages of documents that most people aren't going to have the time to read everything in there and fully not even grasp a fraction of it because it's just that much. It's another distraction, and it is a distraction. It's meant to be a distraction. It's meant so you don't read the whole thing, much like the terms of services. They're written in multiple page formats for a reason, because most people aren't going to go past the first page. Why? Because it's just too much information, or it makes you jump around, as in subsection A, or as in section A, subsection this and this and this, to where you got to jump around, and you get distracted to where you were originally at. A lot of terms of services work like that. Just like YouTube's terms of service. Well, you've got one set of terms of service for YouTube, but then, make sure you check Google's community guidelines, because that's also part of their terms of service, which refers you to Google's community terms of service, which then refers you to AdWords terms of services and policies. So you end up like a document like this that you're never going to read, so you're never going to know what all the laws and stuff are in there. Welcome, we are free. They found so many ways to throw distractions at us. That old saying, here, look over here. There's nothing to be seen over here. Just look over here. And where you should be looking is over here. It happens all the time, and it's much easier now in digital format. What's trending? You'll know what's trending by just looking at your feed. It's full. I mean, how many times do I need to see the same retweet from 150 followers? Not much, we are free. I enjoy actually a lot of those things. I enjoy picking the one that's got the most comments and reading the comments, getting other people's views and opinions on it. I know, unless I'm in the mood to, I very seldom even comment on stuff. Unless I'm feel drawn to, I don't. It's not that I don't read your stuff. I actually do. Read your stuff and the comments with it. Because I'm learning from you guys. You're also, and when I do comment, I hope you're learning a bit about me and my opinions and views on the matter. Because we all have our little uniqueness. We are living in some real scary times right now when a certain platform can deem you unsafe for the community. Or we got a government trying to say, we want to create a list for people that talk about things that are not the status quo. Those are something we should be paying real close attention to. Why? Because it goes back to what I stated earlier. It's all about one thing, our freedoms, our rights, and our liberty. Well, I guess that's three things, but they all correlate with each other. That's what they're trying to take away. And they're going to throw as many distractions out there to keep you away from these topics. The list. Unsafe. They don't want you following what they're putting in that bill about the list, when it's quite easy to follow. They much rather keep you bouncing from trending subject to trending subject. I kind of miss doing what I did last summer, non-trending news, because that's the trick, and that's the importance. It's the non-trending stuff that is very important, because that is the important issues that they're trying to distract us from. Some of the trending stuff, yes, like I said, Facebook thing, there was some importance there, because why now? I asked that question last night. I don't get it. Why now? Why now you admitting that this is even happening, because you didn't want to admit this before? What's the catch? Well, Senator today basically told us what the catch was. They want to control all the information. They want to pass laws and legislation to control our freedoms, which tells me you're violating, once again, our constitutional rights. You've committed treason against the American people. We don't have politicians, we have tyrants running the show. Tyrants that don't want you to have any say in anything. They talk about, well, we need to place the same laws and regulations on social media platforms that we have on television. So, let's go back to, it was a Russian bot. It was the Russians that did it. You know what? That's a bunch of BS, because every major news organization has been doing it for over a decade. Since I can remember watching and paying attention to politics, they've been doing it. Controlling who sits on the podiums during primaries. If you don't have this many people, percentage of people, you cannot have a voice during the preliminaries. So therefore, you're denying their voice. You're denying probably the very people who would be put in office to uphold the Constitution, uphold our rights. You're denying them their voice because, we only allow this high a percentage to take place in these debates. Guess what? By that narrative alone, you are influencing the election. So it does happen. It's been happening. Let's not blame it on another country when it happens right here in the U.S. But in the same token, we know our government, the CIA, NSA, have influenced foreign elections as well. We're no better than the other countries they try to blame, so let's cut the crap. But it's another distraction. When we all know we do it, we all know every country does it. Let's not make any other distractions to avoid the fact that we do it. Nothing wrong about being the outsider. You see the world differently. And in many cases, you're the best outsider because you see what really is happening here in the U.S. Something my dad told me a long time ago, back when I was a kid. I got to witness this. You want to see the real news about what's happening here in the United States? Go to another country and watch their news. You'll find things are reported way differently. No, you're a human being. You're the citizen of the world. We all are citizens of the world. It should matter, and we should care about what's happening in the world. Problem is, it's hard to do that when we are caught in this debacle of every country is trying to take everyone's freedoms and liberties and rights away. It's just not happening here. You know, it's happening everywhere. You know, then the reality of it, we hear the talk, drain the swamp. I don't think people understand what will happen if that takes place. I'm going to give you examples of what will happen. We're going to give you recent examples. Venezuela. Brazil. They went to as far as they had to put military on the streets. And it is bad there right now. But they tried to drain their swamp. They tried to put an end to the corruption in government. So sometimes be careful what you ask for, because that is stuff that's taking place right now because of countries and people wanting to drain their swamps. We have our own history of wanting to drain our swamps. When we wanted to break free from Britain and the rule of Britain, we had to have a revolutionary war. When our government did something that some states didn't agree with, we had civil war. We have politicians to this day, politicians, governors, elected officials, mayors, talking about, calling for civil war. We have states that call themselves sanctuary cities. We have states that are acting like rogue states. There is a narrative there that they're pushing. They want to control the narrative. If they can't control the information, the narrative, they will find a way to force that control. Whether it be causing an uprising, civil unrest, or full-out civil war, which it won't be a civil war. It will turn into a revolutionary war. That's the reality of that, because no, the corruption that's going on right now, the treason that's been going on, the tyranny that's been going on in our governments, in our state elected areas, it's going to be more than civil. Because we're going to want complete change. Now it goes back to careful what you ask for. I mean, these guys might not get the full picture of what they're pushing for. Yes, drills are being run in preschools. We are free. They're doing that here in the U.S. too, running drills like that. They've been doing it, and a lot of that got revealed that they were running drills in this very school the week before, the day before this happened. They want to make it about guns. They're preparing our children for these very same things. Yes, fear, fear, fear. But it's also control, brainwashing. They're teaching our very children to be fearful. Like I said, every narrative we run into, it's multifaceted. This gun debate is more than just guns. It goes clear back to control. It goes back to fear. What does government fear? It fears an armed populace. They fear a constitution that dictates where we have the right to oppose a tyrannical government. So therefore, they want to disarm that. They want to get full control. If they can't get control, they're going to set in motion things to create events to take that control, to take those freedoms. And if those don't work, they'll go the next step farther, which would be, and we hear politicians and mayors and others say, civil war. Why? It's something like that. If any form of civil unrest broke out, they would call in a state of emergency. To our kids, and they're training them for it right now in schools. It's no longer earthquake drills or fire drills. It's gun drills. There is a danger to all this when you start teaching them, because they know how can they hurt anybody out there. If they control your children, they control you. What will you do for your child to protect your child? I don't have kids, but I know what I'd do. I know what I'd do for my brother's kids, for my best friend's kids. You know, it's just like a lot of people, this is the first week they're actually hearing about what's happening in the UK with the knives. Because, you know, here in the U.S., we're distracted with the gun debate and the censorship debates and what investigation is going on that many people missed, that the UK is coming after the knives. Well, let's look what was trending a couple weeks ago. Actually, the last 2 weeks, something that's been trending. The fact that London's had more stabbings and knife deaths than the city of New York. Had gun deaths and violence. That started trending. Next thing you know, what do we hear this week? Or, well, for us in the U.S., it's the first we've heard of it. The first I was able to confirm it was from a UK prepper, funky prepper from the UK, yesterday when he released his video talking about it, why he's been out, haven't been doing much content. And the fact is, they're coming after their knives. But it gets even uglier than that. Pay attention to this, all of you. They're trying to implement the law just not to take your knives, but to publicly, in public, frisk you and search you to make sure you don't have a knife. They're taking their freedoms away to peacefully walk to where they can just walk up upon and immediately searched and frisked. That's something we do need to pay attention to, because that's a dangerous law. How many of our elected officials are going to look at what they're doing over there and say, we're going to do that with the guns? And screw search and seizure laws, constitutional rights. I need to reiterate this again. People don't get it. While you're being distracted and these laws and bills are being passed, while we don't know about them, or we hear only a few people know about them, but we don't catch it when they're talking about it because our feeds are full of trending stuff. So we become unaware. Here's the danger of bills and laws. Once they are passed, once they are made into a law, now any state, any form of government can look upon that law and use it and adapt it to their state or their form of government. Our government, federal government, can look at it, oh yeah, it's passed in this state, now these 4 other states, let's just make it a federal law now. Why? Because there's no opposition. There was none. Nobody knew about it. Next thing we know, we have this on the federal level, which makes it even more harder to get changed. Because now the law is in place. Then how many people have been convicted of breaking that because of that law? They lost their cases in court, so therefore they've been tried, convicted, and are criminals now. Every time a case like that happens, it is now quotable. See, this law is working. While these guys are in prison for something that's probably unconstitutional and fighting in court to get the ruling overturned, it's a long process because, it's got to go through the state first. Then once you burn out that, then you go to the federal. Then you got to burn through the federal before it becomes to the Supreme Court. Next thing you know, you've racked up 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you got it to the Supreme Court. And by then, how many more cases or more states have adopted that law? Or has the federal government finally stepped in and adopted the law? Which may sway what the Supreme Court decides. That's the danger. That's what I've been trying to tell everyone in the last few videos I've done. We have to pay attention. We have to have a dual diligence. It doesn't matter if we don't like that person. It doesn't matter if we agree with that person. They're coming after their freedoms, rights, and liberties. On that, we all agree. Because guess what? You're next. Don't let that person lose it so it becomes a law or becomes a recorded on record that they can use in a case to take your very rights away that you let them take from them. Because eventually you will be next in line. But we get caught up with the distractions. I mean, I like distractions. Distractions are good from time to time. There is a good form of distraction. Fishing, great form of distraction. When it warms up, yes, I'm going to do some fishing. Why? Because I go out, middle of nowhere, middle of the lake, peaceful, quiet, just me and nature, clearing my mind. Yeah, you have a good night's sleep. Thanks for tuning in. Music has always been a distraction for me. Music, I can just sit back, listen, tune everything out, clear my mind. There are good forms of distraction. Healthy forms of distraction at that. Distractions that take us away from all this information bombardment, this information overload. Find positive distractions, not negative ones that are meant to ensnare you and mislead you. Because what happens is when you take those positive distractions and tune out from all this crap, you come back with a clearer mind. You see things a little bit more clearer. They don't want to tell you that. They want you to be addicted. They want you to follow what's trending. They want you to be distracted with the content that they distract you with. They don't want you to have the choice of what you choose to distract yourself with. They don't want you to have a choice at all. That's why they're constantly distracting you. That's why they're constantly trying to pit us against each other. There is going to come a time and place where talk won't get you anywhere. The time for talking will be over. We're not there yet. And the truth is, we keep going the way we're going, down this road we're going. It wouldn't matter if the time passed, because we're too divided. We're too pitted against each other. We adhere to our community that we've created for ourselves, isolating ourselves from other communities, the outside world. We've created our safe bubbles, our safe zones. Which we've created what? What do we create? A distraction. We are psychologically reprogramming our mind to not see things. Consciously, on a conscious level, you don't realize you're doing it, but on a subconscious level, that is exactly what is happening. Sometimes we don't realize the things we do consciously impacts us subconsciously. You know, I thought it was funny. A senator actually brought this up today. We're talking to Facebook. They're talking about hate speech, of course, and certain types of content. But he was right. I believe it was Graham. I hate to say it, but I believe it was Graham. Which is, I can't stand the guy. Another rhino that needs to be removed. But he's pretty sure it was him that said it. Either way, it was one of them that said it. It doesn't matter who it was. It was one of them. You guys can go to C-SPAN and watch the whole debacle, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But he asked a good question. You know, what is deemable safe and unsafe? What is proper content and improper content? And that's more than his words, because I managed to distract myself trying to think of the name of the person who actually said it. See how that works? You can even distract yourself. But he asked a very good, important question. When does it become a control of this person over here doesn't have a right to express themselves and have their own opinion because it goes against what somebody else, or it hurts somebody's safe space because they don't like what this person's saying, or this person's pro-gun. Well, actually, they use pro-choice. And this person doesn't believe in pro-choice. But because this person's safe space, and the things this person over here is saying, it hurts them. They're offended, therefore, should they be punished, deemed unsafe, banned? There's no such thing as a safe space. Why? Well, my house is safe space. But if I'm sound asleep and the fire alarm don't go off in the middle of the night and there's a fire, I don't smell it, I'm sound asleep. Oh, guess what? My house wasn't that safe, now was it? Either for my neglect of not changing the battery in the fire alarm, or for me being a sound sleeper, which thankfully I'm not. Going across the road to get the mail is not a safe thing. Nothing in this world is safe. Changing the tire on my car is not a safe thing, no matter how you try to do it. Walking outside is not safe. Well, yes, it might be a 1 in a billion chance, but I might get struck by lightning, or shit might just fall out of the sky from somebody flushing the airplane toilet. There's no such thing as safe space. That's an illusion. Fact is, everything we do in life has a risk. Whether it's going across to pick up the mail, changing the tire, putting a light bulb in, anything, we take a risk. There's always something that could happen. Will it happen? More likely, no. But that's just the facts of life. I'm going to say something that will offend you at some point. Is that my intentions to offend you? No. My intention is to make you think and question things. So therefore, if I triggered you, maybe you should question why that whatever I said triggered you. Because that's your inner voice, or whatever you want to call it, Holy Spirit, whatever. That's something talking to yourself saying, you need to look at this. But we don't look at it that way. We look at, oh, you offended me. I'm going to give you a thumbs down. I'm going to block you. Yeah, good morning. More like evening, but it is morning if you just got up, because you're starting your day. Oh, I know. I used to work third shift, or preferred third shift. And my morning would be, what? Probably around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on how I did my day. Some days I would stay up till noon, 1. Other days I'd go get off work, take a shower, go right straight to bed, and have the whole afternoon. So, like I said, play on words. See how we can easily get distracted on things? Just because I just got up, well, technically, by definition of good morning in a work cycle, that is my morning. I'm going to have breakfast in the afternoon or in the evening. I'm going to have dinner at 3 o'clock in the morning. But to most people, morning is when the sun comes up. So therefore, I just offended somebody, or I'm wrong. No, it's just a matter of perspective. It's a matter of understanding and questioning things. Why would that person say good morning? It's evening. Well, he might live in another country where it is actually morning. He might live in another time zone where it's still afternoon. There's many factors. Or he might be a third shift person and just got up. We've gotten to that point where everything has to be explained. Yet another distraction. If you got to sit here and explain everything before you get to the point, and guess what? You're probably going to, by the time you get ready to get to the point, you're going to forget what the point was. Question yourself. If you feel triggered, you feel like your safe space has been invaded, question why. Don't get mad at the messenger. Please don't kill the messenger. Because maybe my message was just meant for you. Things work that way. Just like that beggar across the street that, for some odd reason, over the bustle of traffic and the talk of people, I heard what he said. Nobody else did. I did. That message apparently was meant for me. Because it triggered me to catch it and actually hear it over all the noise and bustle. Yes, that's a form of trigger. I was triggered to hear that. Now, should I get mad? Should I feel like my safe space been invaded? Oh my God, this beggar over here just said something, but nobody else heard it. Maybe that message was meant for me. Maybe I need to think about what I just heard. Maybe I need to question something. Maybe I need to take a closer look at something instead of getting distracted and hiding behind an illusion of safe space, an illusion of, this is my opinion. I'm protected by this label because I believe in this label. This label defines me. So therefore, I'm protected. The Constitution only protects me. It doesn't protect that person. That person doesn't have a right to have an opinion or view. Yeah. Sorry. It doesn't work that way. The Constitution applies to every U.S. American citizen. Every U.S. American citizen is equal, including our politicians, our governors, our law enforcement, our military. They all have the same law. There is no, oh, because I'm this, the law don't apply to me. Nope. The law applies to you just as much as it applies to me. You don't need to make an amendments or changes to the law that makes you superior, because you're not superior. Oh, wait. There's the other thing they miss. Everyone is equal. Is supposed to be treated equal. That's even in our Constitution. Equality, which makes a politician no better than the everyday working person. No different than that beggar on the street. You are equal. That's just privilege. And with that privilege does not come any benefits when it comes to the law. There's no benefits when it comes to the Constitution. Actually, there comes more responsibility to them because they take an oath to uphold and protect it and defend it. Not sit there and try to strip your rights and freedoms away. When they do that, they're not committing. They're violating their oaths. They're committing treason, and it's a form of tyranny. It's time you start calling things for what they are. You're not a Democrat. You're not a Republican. You're a tyrant. You committed treason. There is no label that defines you other than your actions. And your actions have dictated that you committed treason. You violated ethical laws by trying to strip the Constitution. Dog's been full of it today. You know, some people might say, well, you're playing on words. No, I'm not. Those words aren't words to be played with. Those are words that can only be described to somebody that isn't expressing but using action. There's a difference between action and expression. When you act and try to pass laws that strip us of our rights and our freedoms that violate the Constitution, you've committed an action. You've committed treason. You've committed an act of tyranny. We need to start calling things for what they are instead of creating new words that become distractions later down the road. You know, it's time to take the blinders off. It's time to put an end to the concept, oh, you've invaded my safe space. Well, actually, I'm going to stop there because that would be wrong. There's a term which is where they're taking that terminology from. There is such a thing as a safe space. It's that little bubble that I deem that you get too close, I might perceive you as a threat. It's an imaginary thing. But there is that in terminology, there's where that came from. You're invading my safe space. You're entering a danger space. And it's not danger to me, because I'm perceiving you as a threat now. It's more of a danger to you. You know, that's where that term came from the martial arts, military training, and many other forms. It's just been adapted to a new age that most people have forgotten where the original usages of it came from. And they think that because words can invade your safe space. No. Words is just going to hurt your feelings. And why is that? Because you chose to allow that word to have power over you. You gave it power, not me. But now that I know that word affects you, now you've given me a form of control. I can manipulate you. I can trigger you. I can influence you. That's the danger of labels. That's the danger of using certain words to define you or define a thing. Because later down the road, a few generations later, they might change the meaning of it to mean something completely different than what it originally meant. And when you start doing that, what happens? Oh, we need to control the narrative. We need to control what people say because that was offensive to me. So therefore, it was a form of an attack. But, we all seen how these committee things go. They're distractions. They are. The memo, that's a distraction. QAnon is a distraction. Trending is a big distraction. Meant to distract you from real important issues. Then when we do get to the real important issues, we've got to be aware of the distractions that will divide us. When in truth, what they're coming after is all about one thing, our freedoms. Second Amendment, we can just squash that down to they're trying to take away your freedom to bear arms. You're trying to take away your freedoms of choice, your freedoms to express yourself, the freedoms to have your own opinions and views. It's one common word here, freedom, which we can break down into rights and liberties, which in the end, what do those mean? Your freedoms. You guys got to wake up, smell the coffee. But see what they trained you to pay attention to. Now, try it for one day, just one day. Don't pay attention to what's trending. Find that one thing that's not on your feed 30 different times from 30 different people. Go research it. Find that one thing you're drawn to that's not trending. See where it leads you. Guess what? When you do that, you just avoided the pitfall of distractions. You just found something that may be important that you would otherwise have missed because of all the stuff that's supposedly trending. Or, oh, what did QAnon say today? What did he post today? Just another distraction. It's meant to keep you distracted. Unfortunately, most people won't get it until it's way too late and they realize, what, I can't talk about this no more? Why? Oh, while you were distracted, they came around, passed laws and legislation to strip you of talking about things like that. But you were too busy distracted chasing that rabbit hole. When in reality, you're living in the rabbit hole. So many things that's going on just here in the United States that it's impossible to focus, give attention to, that are important because there's so many distractions surrounding it. There's so many different narratives. But I do know what the main narrative is. I do know what the main agenda is. Anybody that can actually see and that is actually truly awake can see it. You don't even have to be truly awake. You can be half awake and you're going to see it. They're coming after your freedoms. Your freedoms. Your just freedom. They're coming after. They don't want you to be free. Whether it be a free thinker, the freedom to bear arms, freedom to have expression, the freedom to be on a platform where you can talk about, say whatever you want, and not worry about offending someone. This is the bottom line. We offend people every day. I offend probably a lot of people just by doing a live show and opening my mouth. Does that stop me? Actually, that kind of encouraged me to keep doing it. I guess that's the rebel in me, right? No, that's just somebody that's sick and tired of watching our freedoms get trampled over. Sick and tired of watching people just turn a blind eye to it. You know, eventually I'm going to get to the point where I'm just sick and tired of it all. And hey, you guys can fend for yourselves. Because apparently you guys don't care. You know, I have been accused of this a lot. I have one flaw that has ever been pointed out to me that I don't call it a flaw though. Is that I care too much, that I don't know when to step away. When you just can't help that person or persons anymore. They're not going to listen no matter what you say. Some say that's a flaw. I say that's why I still have hope in people. You know, you got to have hope in things. But eventually you got to face the facts. There's some people we'll never be able to reach. There's some people that's never going to get it. There's some people going to say, oh, I'm a constitutionalist. But yet, as soon as somebody with a different opinion, a different belief, yet the Constitution only applies to them and not the other people. When, in fact, it doesn't apply to them. I mean, how many times does our Supreme Court have to rule on hate speech? I don't like it. I find it offensive. But you know what? They have a right to that hate speech. That is a form of freedom of speech. As long as it isn't, they're talking about it and expressing it, they have that right. But when they take that and go to the next level and it becomes action, that's when they violated the law. That's when they violated the Constitution. But most people, oh no, we don't want hate speech on any platform. Most people, oh, you got a Satanist over here talking his. Well, it's a free speech platform. You're going to get that. It's up to you to not have it in your feed. Block the person. Ignore it. People don't get what free speech is, what freedom of expression is. Yes, there's going to be things we don't like, don't agree with. It's our responsibility not to look at it, read it, watch it. We just say, okay, oh yeah, no, that's not for me. And go to the next article. Scroll down. Or if that's a person that's following you, block them. That's your responsibility. It's not no other government, no other person. Because that person is protected under the Constitution just like you. They have the right to express those things. And that's part of the problem we're dealing with today. Oh, that's a pagan. What, a pagan can't be patriot? Can't be an American? He has all the same rights and freedoms that you do by the Constitution. There's where we always run into that headache. Because, oh, they don't apply to them. Yes, it does. Go read the Constitution. It is very black and white. Don't try to interpret it. That's not your job. It's black and white. Read it as a black and white document. Oh, I'm racist because I said black and white. You know what? Go fuck yourself. There's nothing racist about that. Grow up. You know, that's been another talk this week. Oh, you can't say the N-word anymore if you're white. It's racist. Okay, fine. It's racist for me. It's racist for anybody else that says it. Remove all these rap videos that have it in it. Remove all of these movies that have the N-word in it. That's how we end that problem. Nobody can say it. If you want to get right down to the bare bones of it, or grow up, quit giving words power. Quit creating a new distraction, a new narrative for it to feed on. Give it no meaning. It's a color. White's a color, black's a color, pink's a color, purple's a color, blue. It's a color. But yet, we allow those things to become distractions. We allow those things to dictate, oh, we need to remove these monuments. We need to take this stuff out of history because it's offensive. Wow. Have we got so far away from reality that we've now set ourselves on a road that we're paving and repeating history, opening a door for that very history that we don't want to repeat itself. Oh, but no, that's a distraction. They're not going to talk about that. In fact, if anybody else tries to talk about it, we're going to make sure we control how far that narrative gets out, how many views we allow it to get. We're going to make sure that don't go trending. Why? If you don't go trending, nobody's going to see it. Why? Because all the trending stuff's going to bury it in the feeds, so no one will see it. So we'll use the distractions as a weapon to control the narrative, control what the content we want out there. Talk about psychological brainwashing at its finest. You know, and it's hard. I know, I get it, it's hard. Everything's a distraction. Everything can be a distraction. This noisy ass heater in the background that you probably can hear is a distraction. So they don't know how to tune it out. They haven't taught themselves to be able to tune those things out. You know, it's like we all have selective hearing. We hear what we want to hear when we want to hear it. Well, that's not true, guys. We hear everything. That's how we heard that beggar across the street over all that noise that we shouldn't have heard. Because we might selectively choose not to hear it, but our subconscious hears everything. Everything that's around us is taken in, whether we acknowledge it, see it, or hear it. Every time we're scrolling down, reading all this content, viewing this content, we're taking it in. We might not realize it or recognize it. Then one day something happens, like, man, where did I hear that, or where did I see that? You never clicked on it. In fact, you just scrolled right by it. But there it was. You were distracted from everything else that's going on that you missed something important. But yet your subconscious picked it up, took note of it, and just stored it away for a time where something might come up, and next thing you know, it's right there in front of you. It's like, whoa, where'd I hear that? Where'd I see that at? Come to find out, something I had scrolled past that I had completely ignored or didn't pay attention to. See, we do create our own distractions. We do create our own false realities, illusions, safe spaces. We do it without even knowing it, which makes it even easier for them to use those tools against us, because we already do it. So all they got to do is manipulate it just a little bit, and they can easily control how you search, the content that's put in front of you. But we get distracted, or that person said it. He's a conspiracy theorist. That ain't happening. Well, guess what? 5, 6 years down the road, oh yeah, I guess that did happen. Wow. Why are we waiting for 5 to 6 years down the road, or 6 months down the road? Why didn't we just take the little time to get away from the little addictions and do a little bit of research? You know, back when I came back in November from my little break, I did 2 videos, and I started doing the United We Stand videos. And I actually dove back into the terms of services, the TOSs, and started reading them all. I mean, it wasn't not too much. It was amazing. Most of it I knew, but yeah, that's a lot of pages to go through. That's a lot of stuff to interpret, to process. But over a 3 videos span, which most of those videos are 3 hours long, the research that I put in, I found things I didn't know. You know, I had some misconceptions of things as well. And when you see that and realize that, you realize how easy it is to manipulate, how easy it is to think you have consent when you don't on these platforms. Because you gave your consent away right when you created that profile, right when you turned your phone on, plugged that smart TV in or that smart refrigerator. You gave consent away without even knowing it, because it's not in the first few pages, believe me. You know, just like the concept that most people had that your channel gets completely deleted and all your videos get deleted. Nope, they don't. They're archived. It was right there in the terms of service. Nothing gets deleted. It goes back to the old saying, though. Once you put it on the internet, it will always be on the internet. You can't remove it, get rid of it. We forgot that old concept. So we think no, it's actually in the terms of service because they keep an archive and record of it in case of legal problems down the road where it may be needed for an investigation. It's all right there in the terms of service. Go read it for yourself. In fact, you should probably read all the terms of service. Then you'll start finding out that nothing you do on any of your devices is private. Understand what third parties are. The fact that third parties are, once again, let's use that word, multifaceted. There's a third party. There's a third party to that third party, a third party to that third party. And eventually we'll find out that one of the third parties leads back to CIA, FBI, NSA. They have their hands in it as well. I mean, that's not including all the advertising. But they just give us a brief summary in the first few pages, and we're not going to stroll past because why? The rest of it's a distraction. Because we're going to have to spend an hour reading it or more. The printed out version of the Facebook TOS was that thick. Literally, that thick. You going to read that? And it's not so much even the problem about reading it. There is the issue of interpreting it, because we all know how that works. It's left up for interpretation, so much of it. Which makes it even that much more of a distraction, because how you interpret it might not be how they interpret it. It might not even be how I interpret it. We all have our own interpretations based on our experience, our education. You know, how many people remember the IQ thing? That was the biggest distraction of them all that they were trying to use. And I could have easily squashed that. I've worked with people that can't read, write, but yet they can operate a machine that a college student has been trained to do, can't run that machine. How is that? Is the IQ that important? Because the college student had an IQ, a high IQ, but that person that couldn't read and write could run that machine and knew every trick in the book on how to get that machine to work properly and put out good quality stuff, to where that person that went to school for that, went to college for it, was trained to run that machine, couldn't run it, couldn't do the maintenance, fix it, calibrate it. Why? Because that person learned how to run it. He learned through experience. He knows every nook and cranny of that machine. He's mastered that. It has nothing to do with IQ. The IQ thing is a distraction. Like I said, labels, they're just distractions. They're meant to divide, subjugate. Truthfully, they're meant to enslave you. They're meant to take away your free thinking ability, your ability to question anything outside that label. But I think I have talked long enough. This ain't Ramblings of the Chaotic Mind. It's just supposed to be an even coffee chat, and I have not had drank the last bit of my coffee probably about 20 minutes ago. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope some of this makes sense. I hope some of you guys understand what I'm getting at. Because we do need to understand this thing. Because the distractions have become another weapon that they're using against us, using to manipulate us. It ain't positive, it's negative. Positive distractions is music. So I tune out. I don't have to clear my mind. Going fishing, going for a walk, going for a hike. Those are positive distractions. Why? Because I'm not having my cell phone with me. I don't got a computer in front of my face. So therefore, those are positives. Why? Because I'm out there clearing my mind. So when I do come back, I come back with fresh eyes. I don't have that information overload. And there's nothing wrong with positive distractions, because those things are meant to give you peace, take you away from a stressful situation. So don't trick yourself into the ones that are being used as weapons to mislead you, to keep you from seeing the real truth, to keep you from seeing the real agenda. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your week. and have a good night.